Hello everyone, welcome to Introduction to Mudbox 2017. This is going to be a video about the user interface and how to get around inside of Mudbox. So we're going to start out here. This is what you'd see right when you fire Mudbox up. You'd have these options here. These videos over here are a great way to get started. Some of what we're going to talk about today is stuff you can find inside these videos right here. On the right here, you'll see that there's these base shapes you can start out with. They'll get you sculpting and texturing right away, or you can import your own assets if you want. You'd be able to open in a file and then let you import one right away. But since we don't have anything we're going to be entering right away, let's go ahead and just use this base sphere just to begin with. Okay, so there's our sphere. Now, when you first set up Mudbox, if you're familiar with another package like maybe Maya is what I use, or if you're familiar with Max or any other 3D package, they have an assortment of hotkeys that can transfer in right away. So I'll ask you when you go and set Mudbox 2017 up, what kind of key setup you want. You can use Mudbox's default key setup, or you can just have Maya's hotkeys brought in. That's what I'm going to use. So to get around inside the scene here, to navigate this 3D viewport, we have Alt left mouse button. That'll let us rotate around the object inside of our scene. We have the wheel inside of your mouse. So if you scroll your wheel in and out, that'll let you dolly in and out. We also have Alt middle mouse button. That'll let you grab the entire scene and grab it and move it around. Okay, and then Alt right mouse button also lets you zoom in and out. So if you see here, I wrote it up so you guys can write it down if you want. So we have Alt left mouse button for rotating around the object, Alt middle mouse button, that'll let you pan, Alt right mouse button, that'll let you zoom. And then if you have a tablet set up, this is a little bit different. We'll have Alt pen drag, that lets you rotate around your object, Alt forward switch, so that button on your pen has two buttons, or it has two. I guess there are buttons. It's one button, but like there's the button part that is closest to the end of the stylus, and the one that's above it. The one that's closest to the stylus, if you hold down Alt and click that, that'll let you pan. If you hold Alt and the back switch, that'll let you zoom. So same functionality as the mouse, but the tablet will give you better details you can draw into your base mesh. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to mainly be using a mouse. If I change that for a future project, I'll let you know if I'm switching to a tablet. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Let's continue on a little bit. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have here. So first thing I want to do is I want to go to File, and I already have a new scene, so I don't need to go there. But underneath this menu set, we also have the Open option, so I can open up a new scene if I had one. I always like to save my scene right away. So I'm going to go to Save Scene, just make sure that I have a saved copy. That'll make it to where as I'm moving along in Mudbox, there's a button that will pop up that will, as I'm working, that will just let me go ahead and keep on saving rather than having to go to this menu set every time. But until I do my initial save, it won't do that. So here it is, Mudbox projects. I can pick a different directory, but this is okay for now. So I'm just going to call this one UI demo. Okay, go ahead and save that. All right. So next I can go to, if I was done with this is something that would be a little bit further down the chain. Some other options you'll find underneath this menu set here. We have send to Maya, so if I was done with this project, I can just send it straight over to Maya and it would take the textures with it. And if I was to update the textures in Mudbox, I can also go to update textures in current scene and they would update there as well. I can export this over to Photoshop, re-import from Photoshop, and then we have import export options. Okay. Also we added the recent files, so this is the last one I just worked on. Okay. All right, so let's go and actually dive into we'll start out with the paint tool. Okay, so before we do any painting, if you look over here, on the far right, so we have our paintbrush active, but on the far right here we have 2 tabs, and then we have 3 side tabs. The top tab up here, this one says Sculpt, and that has our base object, right? And then we have Paint. Okay. These are underneath the Layers tabs, so we are going to be working with layers just like Photoshop, and they actually work very much like Photoshop. But then we also have an Objects tab. Now this will tell you that we have one sphere here with a default material on it and one light inside the scene. We don't really need to mess with anything here for right now. But inside the layers, before we start painting, I want to add in a layer. Okay, so I'm going to add this layer in here, and it asks me what kind of map it wants to create. So size 2K map. It's kind of big for a sphere, but that's okay. If you're dealing with something that's going to be for a smaller game, you might want to go with a smaller map. Or if you're doing with a level detail object to where you want your texture maps to be smaller, you might want to go with a smaller map here. But let's just go ahead and just say keep it at 2K for the purposes we're dealing with right now. What kind of file type we want to be dealing with? I don't want to use a TIFF. Let's use a Targa. Targa seems to be more universally accepted. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one. I'm going to go ahead and call this one base paint. Okay. And go ahead and hit OK. Alright. There it is. Pops up. Take a look at this map here, or this layer here. You'll notice that on the right here it has this little slider, and you can left mouse button drag the strength on this guy. So once we paint, we can fade this in and out. It also has how this is being affected. We have normal, dissolve, the same kind of things you'll see inside of Photoshop are right here as well. We have the viewing, so like if we want to turn this layer off and on, we can turn it off and on. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a little bit of paint on here. So we have our paintbrush active. We want to pick our color, so let's go ahead and just say for now that we're going to go with, let's say, something. Those are the blues. Sure, that sounds okay. And right now it has a stamp active. Let's go ahead and turn the stamp off for now, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about with the painting. Okay, so there we go. Get some paint going on here. Okay. And if you rotate around, that's good. Okay. Go ahead and bring this out a little bit so I can talk about the properties of this particular paintbrush. Okay, so underneath this paintbrush, some things I want you guys to look at before we go any further is we have size. So right now it's at 25. Okay. Now you can go ahead and readjust it here. You can see the brush size is smaller. You also have the hotkeys if you're familiar with Maya. Hold down B and left mouse button drag. You'll see as soon as you hold down B, there'll be this little black line that will pop up, and that lets you know that you are now able to resize the circumference of your circle brush. So if you left mouse button drag, this thing gets a lot bigger really quick. Okay. Okay. Strength. So if you have it currently set to 100, you can always feather this down. Let's say that I didn't really want it to be a full 100. I want it to be a little more light, like I'm feathering in some details or something. You can always adjust the strength, obviously. Let's look at mirroring. So let's say you're working with a symmetrical model. You want to paint both sides at the same time. So you go to mirroring. It asks you which axis you want to mirror in. So we go ahead and activate the x-axis, or maybe you were dealing with a y-axis or a z-axis. Local x, local y, these are all the same for right now, with sky is a primitive object, and then tangents are based off of something completely different. It's a little more of an advanced topic, so we're going to table the tangents for later. Also the local x, y, and z, these are for objects that aren't actually at the origin, which our object is at the origin, so we're not going to mess with that one right now either. Okay, going down a little bit further, let's go ahead and take a look at stamps. So here we go. Let's go ahead and here's the pattern for the stamp. So I can, like so, and you can see as I'm dragging down that this pattern is going straight down like this, right? Now, the pattern isn't varying its orientation or any of that kind of stuff. It's just got one straight drag all the way down. Now you can adjust some of this stuff by going like randomize, and then you can see how it's now twisting as I'm dragging, which kind of breaks up the pattern of what you're trying to accomplish. So some options there for you. You can always adjust, turn this off, and maybe or adjust how it's rotating. You have some play here as far as how you want it to work, as far as the random goes. Okay. Let's turn this off again, and I'll go a little bit further down the paint channels here. Let's look at stamp spacing. Okay. Stamp spacing. So I'm going to make this brush a little bit smaller so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So right now it's set to 6.25. Actually, I think I have to have stamp off that to work. Let's go ahead and put that back on. Okay. So that's with it at 6.25. I'm going to bring it up to, say, 10. Starts to span out. Starts to break up more. You can see as I'm making this number higher and higher, makes it to where the stamp between imprints is just further and further apart. So you guys get the picture on how that should work. If you make it to where there's no stamp spacing, it's almost just like solid color. Okay. Steady stroke. I'll jump past snap to curves because I'm running low on time here, and that's all you really. I mean, snap to curve is a different topic. I'll go on to it on the next lesson. But steady stroke. This makes it to where you have you see how there's this little leader, this little green dot. This makes it to where you can draw, and it just kind of averages out how far you're dragging. So this works really good. If you have you want to actually draw all the way across here, but you want it to be fairly straight. Steady stroke distance is set at 4 by default, but you can always drag it up to something longer. So you have something like this, and then that makes it to where you end up with something a little bit more even, since it's averaging over a longer distance. Okay, or you can just turn it off altogether. It's up to you. Okay, some other options. You have flood paint layer. You can just make it towards all that base color, which simplifies the whole painting process. You can flood from camera, which means that from the camera view it will flood, and then you can always reset. Let's look at. You don't need to go into advanced. This is more specific towards if you have a tablet. Fall off is something we might want to go ahead and look at. Let's go ahead and change this color to a red. Okay. Now there's some fall off presets we have, and we can the fall off presets, they are underneath this tab over here, but you can adjust the fall off customly over here. So like let's say you want to adjust the fall off to something. Oh, this is too big. Let's go down. Okay, maybe turn off the pattern for now. Okay, so you can adjust the fall off. You see how it's very sharp and then it fades. You could make it to where get rid of some of these guys down here. A little more like that, or maybe you want to have a little bit more. I don't know if I have this actually even on. This is snap to curve now. I'm seeing this is actually the follow up. There we go. That's what it's after. Okay, so that's something to play with later. I'm going to try to make these videos a little bit shorter. In the past, my videos have been about half an hour long, so I'm going to try to keep them at 15 minutes or less, make them a little more palpable. So in this lesson, we went over how to use the UI in Mudbox. bad habit. Um, how to navigate the UI, the hotkeys you need to know with the mouse button combinations, how to save your scene, and how to use the paintbrush, and a little bit about the channel box here, and creating your first layer. So in the next lesson, we're going to go through and look at some of the more of the tools, and we're going to get into the sculpt tools possibly either in the next lesson or the following lesson. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next lesson.